Every so often, a company has a year that isn't just good, it's completely transformative. And that's exactly what happened with the European pensions company Chesnara in 2025. We're going to dive into their latest earnings report because, honestly, it tells the story of a business hitting a massive growth spurt, fueled by some really big moves. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The group CEO himself, Steve Murray, called it a major period of strategic transformation. Now, you hear stuff like that from CEOs all the time, right? But this time, there's some serious weight behind it. So let's get into what actually made it so transformational. Okay, so what are the headlines? Well, first, they pulled off their biggest acquisition ever. Then, right after that, they announced another major European deal. And the crazy part? They did all this while their core business was absolutely humming along, generating more cash and leading to a nice little boost for shareholders. All right, let's dig into that first piece. Because really, if you want to understand Chesnara's 2025, you have to talk about how they fired up what they call their M&A machine. And I mean, they really put the pedal to the metal. But here's the thing that's super interesting. This didn't just happen out of nowhere. It wasn't some lucky break. Management's pretty clear that they spent the last 4 or 5 years laying all the groundwork. Shoring up the business, upgrading their systems, getting the right people in place. It was all that quiet, behind-the-scenes work that let them suddenly hit the accelerator and make these huge deals happen. Of course, you can't go on a shopping spree like that without some serious cash in your pocket. So let's pop the hood and look at the financials. What's the engine that's actually powering all this growth? First, let's talk about something called operating capital generation, or OCG. Think of it as the raw cash the business is spitting out from its day-to-day operations. And that number surged almost 20%, hitting £94 million. What's great is that every single part of their business was chipping in. That, right there, is the sign of a really healthy company. And it gets better. Their adjusted operating profit, it shot up by a whopping 42%. So this isn't just about getting bigger. They're actually getting way more profitable as they grow. Okay, now for what's kind of the holy grail number in the insurance industry, the solvency coverage ratio. Chesnara's number came in at an absolutely massive 257%. Just to give you some context, their own target is between 140 and 160. So yeah, they blew that out of the water. But what on earth does that number even mean? Right, let's demystify this. The solvency ratio is basically a stress test. It asks, if things go really wrong, can this insurance company still pay out on all its promises for years to come? A score of 100% means you're good. You can cover everything. So a score of 257%? That means you've got a gigantic financial cushion. It gives you incredible stability and, more importantly, the freedom to make big moves without breaking a sweat. And that financial firepower, that huge cushion, is the key to their whole game plan. Chesnara's strategy is all about growth through acquisition. They're basically professional consolidators. They specialize in buying up books of business from other big financial players. And man, this past year, they landed 2 absolute whales. First, they closed the biggest deal in their entire history, snapping up HSBC's UK life insurance business. That alone is set to bring in over £800 million in cash flow over its lifetime. Then, like a month later, bam! They announced they're buying Scottish Widows Europe from Lloyd's. This move expands their reach in Europe and adds another €250 million to the pot. And this quote from the CEO really nails it. You've got HSBC, you've got Lloyd's Banking Group. These are titans of the financial world, and they're both turning to Chesnara and saying, we trust you to take care of our customers. That is a massive endorsement of their whole business model. Okay, so the company is getting bigger, it's financially rock solid, but what about the people who own the stock? What's in it for them? Let's talk about how all this success translates into rewarding shareholders. Well, because of this fantastic year, management basically hit the fast-forward button on their dividend growth. They're calling it a one-off acceleration. They bumped up the final 2025 dividend by 6%, and they've already told everyone to expect another 6% hike for the next one. That's pretty direct. But here's what makes that so incredible. This isn't just some random bonus they're throwing out. This is the 21st year in a row that they've increased their dividend. 21 years. They say it's the best track record in the entire UK and European insurance game. That kind of consistency is exactly what long-term investors love to see. So that naturally leads to the big question, right? What's next? After making 2 massive deals, are their pockets empty? Have they shot their shot for now? The answer, and management was really clear about this, is a resounding no. Even after those huge acquisitions, they're sitting on about £100 million of what they call firepower. That's cash ready to go. To put that in perspective, that's enough to go out and do another deal the size of the Scottish Widows one, all on their own, without having to ask anyone for money.
So the big takeaway here is just pure confidence. They've got a super strong balance sheet, they say the pipeline for new deals looks good, and, to quote the CEO again, they believe we're only just getting started. It's a pretty clear signal that they see this as the beginning of a new chapter, not the end.
Which brings us right back to where we started. Chesnara has proven it can play in the big leagues, pulling off deals that have totally reshaped the company. They've got the money, they've got the ambition. The only real question left is, can this M&A machine keep running this hot? That's the billion-dollar question everyone's going to be watching.